Yes, hi everybody, and welcome to the Rest Show. This week we're gonna be trying to find a way to make sense of the Old Testament, the God of the Old Testament. Is it the same of the God of the New Testament? Eh? Or in the era of grace, the covenant of grace, and the covenant of the law, was it different laws? Yes, there's different approaches that God has to take. But if the God of the Old Testament is the same of the New Testament, why is he allow certain things? Let's see what Alex O'Connor has to say about this issue. Okay, let's listen to what he has to say about his issue. Here we go.
I think that this grace, this omnipotence, this love and charity of the Old Testament God is expressed in the instances where he commands the complete obliteration of entire nations of people, including the women and the children and even the animals, in at multiple points throughout the history of the Israelites trying to conquer their holy land, which is promised to them by God, such that if anybody is already living there, they're driven out, and if they refuse to leave, they're chased out and they're killed, and then they come back and they kill the women and the children. Do you think that this is the same graceful, loving God that's issuing these commands?
Yeah, let's stop right there. I'm not gonna let you listen to Stewart and Cliff Needle. That they are professionals in that, that is merciful. Why would he allow certain things to happen in the Old Testament, like genocide of all kinds of scenarios that God mandates certain people to be killed completely just wipe out of the earth, killed children and animals, all everywhere. The God says you're gonna go there and you're gonna destroy everything. So why would a loving God allow that? And the biggest dilemma is to understand, if we believe that God interferes, well, then we can come to that conclusion that is the judge of the earth, is allowed. But when we start playing God and we say, if God is all loving, why would he do certain things? Or if God is a loving God, why would he do such a atrocity? Why would he do a genocide? And this is the biggest dilemma. What do you want? You want God to interfere, or you don't want God to interfere? Do you want God to be the judge or not? Because a lot of atheist friends says, if God exists, why would he allow so much evil going on right now? So then we got to the conclusion, well, we're in the era of grace, the era of grace, and we understand that right now God is not interfering. He's letting things happen. He's giving us free will to choose. But in the past, God had his people, and he would ask the people, the Israelites, to do certain things by the voice of a prophet. So, yes, we have the same God, but different covenants. The Old Testament, it's called, yes, the era of the law of God. And the New Testament is the era of the grace of God. And if God was interfering at that time, well, we gotta let him be God. You cannot have it both ways. Do you want him to interfere, or you don't want him? You cannot have it both ways. If he interferes, now we're gonna say, how should he interfere? Why doesn't he do it this way and not that way? Like we're trying to be the arbiters of how he should do things, and we cannot have it both ways. So this is my take. Let's listen to one more of Alex O'Connor's questions so you can have a bigger idea of what he's talking about.
There's this again. I should read the text to be sure, and I do have it written down. This is the destruction of the Amalekites. God issues the command now: go attack the Amalekites and totally destroy all that belongs to them. Do not spare them. Put to the death men and women, children and infants, cattle and sheep, camels and donkeys. Of course, this can't be literal, because it's not just the camels and sheep and the donkeys. Oh, but you can leave the pigs or whatever. Sure, this is sort of like slightly rhetorical language, but it's very clear. Like, leave alive nothing that breathes. Kill the men, kill the women, kill the animals, kill the cattle. And in fact, when Saul decides at the end of the battle to keep alive the king, take him as a hostage, and also keeps alive some of the animals to sacrifice, to slaughter as a sacrifice to God, what happens? He's condemned. And God says, or the scripture says, that God regretted that he made Saul king. He regretted that he made Saul king because he didn't follow his command. What command didn't he follow? That after wiping out the Amalekites, he refused to also kill all of the animals, and he kept the king alive as a hostage. And that was enough for God to say, I regret that I ever made Saul king because he didn't follow my commands. And so I understand that there may be some hyperbole involved here, but in the case where Saul is punished, specifically not for killing all of the animals, it's hard for me to imagine like how much scope there is for hyperbole here in terms of undermining the criticism that we are talking about the slaughter of innocent people here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's stop right there. And you know what? This is what Alex O'Connor's arguing. Like, yes, God is allowing certain awful things. And on top of that, he's not satisfied with King Saul because he didn't do what he was commanded to. And we got to understand that God is all-knowing. And we have the funny idea to think that poor innocent people died in the middle of that battle. You know, the war was between men, and why do women and children and animals gotta die? And we think that those innocent persons, their life was wasted, they die for no reason, and there's nothing that's gonna happen after that. But if we allow to know that God is a God of justice, and all these innocent people, they're not just gonna die in vain. There is something coming for them, a reward, because they were in the middle of evil. So if we allow that position to take place, then we can understand that God will have it his way. Sooner or later, even though there's a lot of innocent people that dies every day, but at the end, God is a God of justice. To end it up, let me show you this Psalm 5, and we get a better understanding on who God is. Okay? So let's check this out. Psalm chapter 5, verse 5, that says, "The boastful shall not stand before your eyes. You hate all evildoers. You destroy those who speak lies. The Lord abhors the bloodthirsty and the deceitful man. But I, through the abundance of your steadfast love, will enter your house. I will bow down towards your holy temple in the fear of you." This is the two that come together. God hates evil, but he has a steadfast love. God is a loving God. But if we want the grace of God to abound in our life, We gotta stay away from evil, from lies, from all that God hates. So this is my call to every one of us. Yeah, I understand that sometimes it's hard to understand the will of God, but we gotta let God be God. And at the same time, we gotta understand that God, His love is not the love of man. Sometimes we wanna be merciful until the end. We don't understand why things happen, but we gotta understand in the plans of God, it's a perfect plan. Even though we see all this evil around us, God will have His way at the end. All right, be blessed. Take care. Bye bye.